There are two very important words to understand when it comes down to knowing how your body burns body fat and gets in amazing shape. The first word is insulin. The second word is glucagon. And these are two very powerful hormones that are all related to eating and not eating. And if we understand the science behind them, we can truly tap into what we need to do to get rid of all the excess body fat and to really get in the shape that we need to be in. So insulin, for instance, is released whenever you eat, particularly when you eat carbohydrates or when you eat proteins. Insulin is absorptive. It turns on the absorbing mechanism of your body. When you consume food, your body produces insulin. And when it produces insulin, the cells open up so that it can absorb the food that you're taking in. It's a natural thing and it's good when it's needed. Now, glucagon is the opposite. Glucagon is released after you're done eating and after you've been digesting. And basically, about 2 hours after you're done eating, you're going to have a spike of glucagon. Now, glucagon is the releasing hormone. So as insulin allows cells to absorb food, glucagon triggers them to release energy because there isn't insulin present. They're like the opposite. Now, most of the world has us believe that we need to be eating every 2 hours in order to actually start burning fat. But the problem is that every time that we consume food, we spike our insulin and put ourselves into absorptive phase. So when you do the math, it doesn't really make sense. Now, I've done a lot of clinical research on this. I've done a lot of research with myself and my own team, and I've investigated a lot of the scholarly articles that talk about this. And the science is definitely showing that eating frequently is not necessarily the way to go because it all comes down to the balance of these hormones. I want to draw this out for you so it makes sense because it's rather complicated, but I can make it very simple. Because if I make it simple, you can understand how simple it truly is to burn body fat and get in amazing shape. Every time you eat, you have a spike in insulin. You eat food, your insulin goes up. Now, normally, what ends up happening is our insulin levels start to fall, and then we eat again. And then we start to fall, and then we eat again. Okay? Now, what if you were to eat every 2 hours? Then this looks something more like this. You're eating frequently. So every single time you eat, you have insulin that's causing you to spike way up here. When you are up here, your body is storing fuel. You're not burning fat. Every time you are up here, you are storing, not burning. But once you start to come down off of that insulin high, when you're in this valley right here, that's when glucagon is released. And that's when your body is saying, wait a minute, there's no more insulin, it's time to start burning fat. It's time to start using body energy, body stores, okay, using your fat, using your stored carbohydrates as fuel, simply because insulin isn't present. But when we're eating and we're constantly spiking our insulin, we're never giving ourselves a chance to really optimize that sweet spot. So all we have to do is something very simple. When we eat, we spike our insulin, but we need to allow this to happen. Now what we've done is instead of having multiple times throughout the day where our body is in absorptive phase, we've now allowed ourselves to have one time of day where or maybe two, depending on when you eat, times of day when you're absorptive, but you have all of this period of time where your body is producing glucagon, triggering your body to burn fat. So this whole area allowing you to burn fat versus this and this and this. It is this valley that is the magic. And the sooner that we can understand that, the sooner we can have success. And the problem is everyone is telling us we need to eat every 2 hours because, quite honestly, the supplement companies want us to be consuming lots of protein powder and the food companies want us to be consuming lots of their health foods. But that's not the case. Now, I've gone into a lot of detail and I did a full video that's very detailed and it's completely free that's going to break down exactly how this process works in the body. In fact, it's actually something known as intermittent fasting. It's where you take periods of time where you don't eat and periods of time where you do eat to maximize this glucagon effect. Now, you can watch that full video by heading on over to SixPackAbs.com, and you'll be able to watch everything there and learn the science. So remember, glucagon releases the cell's energy. Insulin stops that process. It allows them to absorb. Now, again, in that same vein, If we can take control of this insulin period and know exactly what to eat in this period, then we can actually maximize not only our fat burning down here, but we can maximize our muscle growth here too. So that means if you're a guy that's over the age of 20 or 21 and you're actually trying to burn fat and build muscle, you can be in a really good situation by burning fat in the valley and building muscle on the mountain. And again, I explain that in a lot more detail if you head on over to SixPackAbs.com, where you can watch my full-length video that describes everything. Now, if you're still watching this video and you haven't headed on over to the full video yet, then you're probably still interested in the science. Well, I'm gonna stop you right there and explain that I used to be 280 pounds. Okay? I am not necessarily a clinical researcher, that's not my background, but I'm someone that studies day in and day out, and I'm someone that's been there. I'm someone that's been overweight, and I've gone through the trials and tribulations that you have. So I want you to head on over to SixPackAbs.com and learn the ropes of intermittent fasting so that you can take back control of your life and get in the best possible shape. So remember this science as I break it down, and I will see you on the next page.